Big story today at the southern border. Congressman Tony Gonzalez tweeting tonight about the death of a Texas National Guardsman. A report from the Washington Post saying the soldier drowned at the Rio Grande trying to rescue migrants trying to cross. The congressman saying in his tweet, quote, "This crisis can be deadly for all involved." NewsNation correspondent Robert Sherman is at the border now with an up-close look at how common it is for people to take these dangerous risks crossing into the U.S. Robert.
The Rio Grande Valley is widely considered to be the epicenter of the border crisis. Here's part of the reason why. Breaks in the border wall all over the place. Local officials say people cross through here every day, but they're expecting it to get a lot worse in the next month.
We just keep plugging away.
Hidalgo County Judge Richard Cortez sees the U.S.-Mexico border crisis up close and personal every day. He also believes he can see the writing on the wall.
I think removing Title 42 is going to encourage other immigrants to want to come because the fear of them being sent back is gone.
The Department of Homeland Security estimates that could be over 18,000 migrant encounters a day and over 500,000 a month. And while most migrants pass through border communities like Hidalgo County on their way to other cities, places like this will feel the impact.
It's going to have a negative impact on our law enforcement and our judicial system and also our jail system, of course. It's going to add more burden to what we already have.
We try not to stay out too late.
For Jeanette Martinez of La Jolla, she already sees the burden constantly as migrants run through her neighborhood and even come up to her home.
They were knocking on my door and I was just like, and I just closed it back up. So they were asking for some water like through the windows, like sweet some, and I was like, I'm sorry.
So communities like this are bracing for what's to come. But Cortez believes there's no overnight solution. To truly handle what's ahead will take serious immigration reform.
To provide an orderly, legal way for immigrants to come here legally that our economy needs, that our economy wants.
And one thing we've heard from people all over this community, they're tired of the political back and forth. They're tired of people here being treated like political footballs. They just want all parties to sit down and hash out a long-term solution. Nichole?
All right, Robert, thank you for that. Several Republican governors have joined forces to launch the American Governors Border Strike Force. They say their goal is to eliminate crime at the southern border by targeting cartels, preventing human smuggling, and stopping drugs from entering our country. Joining me now is one of those Border Strike Force members, West Virginia Governor Jim Justice. Governor, thank you so much for being with us.
No, thank you so much, Nichole. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, Governor. Can you tell us whose idea was this?
Well, I think that this all started with Governor Abbott, in Texas. But I really, truly believe that this is an effort to coordinate ideas and absolutely try to do something about this terrible situation that logic and reason just tell us that it's already a disaster beyond belief. But what is going to happen here is the disaster that none of us can imagine. I mean, right today, we all know that this is bringing crime to us. It's bringing absolutely drugs upon drugs. I'm in West Virginia. I am so far away, it's unbelievable, from the southern border. But in West Virginia, fentanyl is absolutely skyrocketing across our state. The number of deaths, it is all coming from the southern border. We know where it's coming from. There's absolutely drug lords beyond belief that are making money like you can't imagine off of China. China bringing this terrible killer right to us. Maybe the second go round. Maybe the first go round was this terrible coronavirus that we've dealt with forevermore. But nevertheless, we all know what the net total outcome is going to be. Mm-hmm. It's going to be absolutely sad for all these folks, and it's terrible for America.
Well, Governor, I want to get back to the distance, of West Virginia from the southern border. I do want to touch on that. But first, we laid out the goals of this strike force, right? Targeting cartels, preventing human smuggling, stopping drugs from entering the U.S. You just mentioned that. Really a big task there. So what does this task force give you that you don't currently have?
Well, I hope and pray it will be reason and logic. I mean, at the end of the day, really and truly, our government, from the standpoint of those that are in power in D.C. today, have all the tools in the toolbox to do the right stuff. But they're not, are they? And really and truly, this is an avalanche of a problem. And it's a problem if we don't just watch out. If we don't watch out exactly what very well could happen, and it can in America. America has become weak. America really on the global scale is showing a tremendous amount of weakness. Now we are sharing intelligence and we're working together as states to try to do more and more that we can to make things work in a more prudent and reasonable and logical way.
Right.
You know, Nichole, I would tell you just as straight up as I can tell you, you know, we've lost our way in America, have we not? Inflation, Afghanistan, China, it goes on and on and on. Crime, everything you can imagine.
Well, Governor, let's talk about the distance. Let's talk about where West Virginia is located, you know, here in the United States. You know, obviously more than 1,000 miles from the southern border. You mentioned that. Now, other member states like Alaska, New Hampshire, even farther. So I know you mentioned fentanyl, you mentioned drugs. Why is this so important to you to be a part of this strike force, considering, you know, where West Virginia is located?
Well, Nichole, it's just as simple as this. It's important to me to try to do everything I can possibly do to try to save America. You know, in West Virginia, in the last few years, our fentanyl seizures have gone up 1,778% of the drugs that we've picked up. Now, I mean, Nichole, we could go on and on about this forevermore. Title 42. Whatever it may be, these are bad ideas, and they are causing us tremendous, tremendous hardship in West Virginia and all across this country. We got to do what we got to do to try to stop it.
Well, I hear you on that, Governor. But now, before we let you go, I do want to ask you, we just heard, you know, Robert Sherman's piece there, where people who live in those border communities, they say that they really feel like they're being used as political footballs from both sides of the aisle. What do you say to that?
Well, I would say to some degree they are. I mean, really, at the end of the day, what we should be doing in Washington today that we're not doing. You know, see, it doesn't really matter to me. It never really mattered if you're a Democrat or Republican. I wanted to first and foremost do the right thing for West Virginia and the right thing for America. Today in D.C., all it is a political, football and a political food fight. So at the end, you know, when it really boils right down to it, you know, if we don't quit throwing rocks at one another, we got plenty of people on the outside that are willing to throw all the rocks at us that they want to throw.
Yeah, that certainly is true. We will end it on that. Governor Jim Justice of West Virginia, thank you so much for your time today, sir.
And Nichole, thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.